Hello, everyone. My name is Karma Tensum. I'm with the Tibetan Children's Education Foundation. We're doing this video series called Voices for Tibet. In this program, we're trying to capture the voices of people who love Tibet, who support Tibet. And through these voices, we hope to inspire other people to also support Tibet and Tibetan causes. This morning, I'm really pleased to have a younger TCF board member join us. Her name is Crystal Water. She's the daughter of India Supra, my mentor and the person who taught me everything I know about working in the nonprofit world. Crystal, thank you so much for being with me on this program today.
Hi, Karma. Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be able to do this interview with you.
Crystal, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well. A little tired, but it's in the winter months, they keep you busy
Awesome.
somehow with the dark days.
Crystal, can you start off by just introducing yourself to the Voices for Tibet audience?
Yes. So my name is Crystal Water, as you heard already, and I'm currently working as executive director of the Feathered Pipe Foundation, which was actually the umbrella foundation that TCF started under. And I've been working with TCF actually for 21 years now. Is that right? Yeah, I can't believe it, since almost exactly 21 years. And so it's great to still be called one of the younger members of the board.
Right.
And I live in the Netherlands most of the year, and I go back to Montana every summer. And it's great. I really enjoy working in nonprofit, and I got a lot of my experience actually working with TCF through the last 20 years and being a board member. So I really, I love it.
Right. Thank you, Crystal, for that. And then, one of the things that I will always remember Crystal as is one of our inspirational sponsors. In my work for the Tibetan Children's Education Foundation, we work to connect sponsors here in the West with children that need help. And we have some inspirational ones, people who support our work for 20, 21 years, or even more than that. So, Crystal, I wanted to start our own little conversation by speaking about your sponsorship of Lodu. That is so inspirational. I know you picked him up at a really young age, and now he's blossomed into this wonderful person who is even on the board of TCF. Can we start off our conversation by how did this sponsorship of Lodu begin, and how was this journey for you as a sponsor?
So I started out my sponsorship, and that was actually the same year I became a board member. We had a family trip in India for the change to the year 2000, and so we went to India to celebrate. And on our journey, we went to Clementown, which is where Kitsaling is located. And we met so many Tibetans, and I had been there when I was younger, but I think it had been quite a few years since I had last been there. So it was like this real reconnection. And of course, Karma was there, you were there, and your family and all of the children at Kitsaling. And so we spent Losar there, which was in itself that's an amazing experience to be able to spend Losar with Tibetans. And that's the Tibetan New Year. And so it was a big kind of celebration. And during that time, I think my mom also wanted to get me really started in nonprofit. And I was kind of in that soul searching time in my life, being in my early 20s. And so she said, well, why don't you join the board of TCF? And when we were there staying at Kitsaling, there was a sweet family that lived next door. And that's where Lodo and his family lived. And his father worked in the military, in the army, and he was gone a lot of the time. And his mother was there to take care of him and his brother, and they just didn't really have that much of anything. It was just a simple little house next to the hostel. And so I guess he must have been on the list. I don't know how that part happened, but he eventually, I just said, I would love to sponsor a child and see how I can help. And at the time, even though I was I was really just getting started out in life, I could see how far money could go in India, and especially in Clementown, because it just was really so little, and it was something, you would just waste on nothing, this kind of money to be able to sponsor a child. And so also, of course, I'd known Karma for a long time and seen where Karma had gotten, where you'd gotten for during from being a sponsored child yourself. So anyway, I was inspired to sponsor a child, and then we ended up getting hooked up with Lodo and his family, and so I remember going to visit them, and they were so welcoming and so kind, and it was amazing. I remember his grandmother, who seemed so old at the time. I mean, I don't remember exactly how old she was, but they just welcomed me into the house, and she didn't speak a word of English, but they just were just kind and loving, and I could just feel that warmth. And in fact, she was so grateful that she took off her ring that she was wearing, and I actually put it on today, and it's a Tibetan, a real Tibetan style ring with turquoise. And she took it off her finger and she gave it to me, and that was like this instant gratitude. And I thought, I haven't even done anything. I haven't even done anything yet. But just the kind of kindness and openness, and I already felt like this is amazing to be able to be in contact with somebody and to be able to already kind of change somebody's life with almost no effort in a way. So it feels almost like this kind of weird thing that you think, oh, I didn't even put in any effort in, and then it's something that can change somebody's life, which is incredible.
Right. And you really did change Lodu's life. Like myself, Lodu, myself, we all come from really humble Tibetan homes, and then it's education that sort of transformed our lives. I know that with Lodu, you totally did it. So when we talk about helping Tibetans, then, making a difference for Tibetan refugees and Tibetan children, Crystal, would you agree that education perhaps is one of the best ways that we can totally help the Tibetans?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, with education, you get a chance to be able to, of course, make your income, but also to be able to go on and help other people and know what's out, even to know what's out there, or ways that you can help other Tibetans. And I think for sure with an education, then it gives you an opportunity to travel or to have a good job and to be able to give back in that way and to continue educating other Tibetans. And of course, everybody needs to be able to pay for their home and their basic needs. And so if you're kind of even struggling to do that, of course, it's very difficult to get an education. So I think that's a key element. And especially if you have things incorporated like Tibetan culture and language, in addition to, of course, all the other subjects. But I mean, looking at where Lodo's gone, I mean, he is now, I think, 28 years old. And so he grew up, I mean, it was a humble house, very clean and small, but just with not very many, not many possessions, and just simple. And so that he came from that, and now he has been able to get an education, learn English, and now he's gotten his nursing degree and an advanced nursing degree, which will enable him to potentially go to another country where he might have more opportunities. And now he just recently became a board member of TCF. So that's incredible. And that shows he just was so, moved to be able to then help other Tibetan people.
See, there you go. So now he's at the point where he can even give back and maybe even recycle a little bit of the kindness that you showed him over all these years. But Crystal, so I want to request you to join forces with me, you and me, in some way as a sponsor. I always look upon you as a Tibetan activist. I certainly look upon myself as one. So let's talk about support for Tibetans, and let's combine together, you and me, to try and make this pitch on this Voices for Tibet. Why support Tibetans? What is a good reason to support the Tibetan cause for people listening in too? So let's you and me combine and say, Crystal, can you, for example, from your own experience of working, and you can talk about Tibetan culture, any reason at all. The question is, why support the Tibetans and the Tibetan cause?
Well, I think, the Tibetan culture is incredible. I mean, it's something that I think is so unique. It's full of, absolutely based in compassion and altruism in a way. I've traveled all over the world. I've met people from all different cultures. And I feel like in the Tibetan culture, in my experience of it, it is really a pure culture of altruism based in that and compassion. And I think, with the kindness and thinking about other people all the time, these are really key elements that I think, especially nowadays when people seem to be getting more and more in their own world. I mean, now we're literally isolated from one another, but that people can see that and see what kind of kindness and giving back can bring. And I think that in itself is worthy of preserving. And I think that there are also other incredible cultural things like the music and the butter sculptures and sand mandalas and carpet weaving. These are all really amazing, beautiful art forms and meditation forms that I think are unique in the world. So I feel like with people, with Tibetans living in diaspora, it's even more important to try to preserve the culture. What do you feel like is the best part of Tibetan culture?
And I remember, like even many years ago, you wrote this little article for TCF, My Cappuccino versus His Education, where you are talking about how it's coffee money for sponsors, but making a difference. And even in that article, you alluded to altruism. And I, for one, from my heart, I believe that altruism and, some of our spiritual heritage has got huge potential to benefit everyone. Many centuries ago, it was the great Saint Shanti Deva who said something like this, and I'm paraphrasing loosely to say that every happiness that comes your way comes by thinking and caring for others. Much of the suffering comes from too much of a focus on oneself. Closer to our own times, I know that His Holiness the Dalai Lama also always encourages us to be, sometimes he says, be selfish but wisely. By caring and doing something for others, you get back so much happiness yourself. So I totally, as a Tibetan, I'm nodding my head when you talk about altruism and the Tibetan culture. But I wanted to raise one more point, and that is, aside from education, at the political level, now you live in Europe and there you spend part of time here, how can people in the West, whether it's in Europe or in America, how can people there support the Tibetan cause? Because from where I come from, if anyone has got any empathy for Tibet, the time to support Tibet is right now. We are actually going through the darkest period in our history ever. So how can people in the West support us politically?
Well, I think, of course, the first thing, again, is based on education, kind of learning about Tibet, learning about why Tibetans had to leave Tibet and why that it's been basically, I guess, to learn what is Tibet about and why it's important to think about preserving the culture. So that's like based in education. And then I think that that we can look at, I guess, even in creating our laws and how creating public policy, those are things on a government level, but I think, even recently in the CARES Act, I guess there was some reference to Tibet. And so I think to protecting a culture and a country that is endangered right now, essentially. And of course, that takes effort on many levels. So, I'm not really involved on the political spectrum as much. So I think that is, that's something, but I think, of course, there are a lot of people who are, and if you are, then that is, I guess it's also about spreading the word around and getting just getting people in the West to know about Tibet at all. A lot of people might not know anything about Tibet, but a lot of people might have read His Holiness the Dalai Lama's books. So there's quite a lot of people who have, through him, have learned a lot about Tibet.
Yes, and I agree with you, Crystal. I think a lot of it really begins by just raising awareness of Tibet, having compassion for people that has been exiled now for over 60 years, and I know that you exhibit that. So, Crystal, thank you so much for all your support and also for being on the Voices for Tibet today.
Yes, thank you so much, Karma. Talk to you later.